Our campus is so beautiful. Like you guys, I was blessed to attend Valley College, and I do mean blessed. It was my fourth attempt at community college, and my life would be forever changed here at Valley College. And it started in the Humanities building, specifically in room 110, H110. My life would be forever changed in this room by a wonderful woman named Professor Betty Ballou. I was sitting back here. It was summer 1991. I was up at the front of the room. I was watching the clock because, of course, at that point in my life, I was in school because I had to be, not because I wanted to be. But I need to back up a little bit and start at the beginning with my educational journey. I failed the first grade because I could not read. I was later diagnosed with dyslexia, and I would just be kind of passed through the system. I failed algebra a total of 5 times before graduating high school with a 1.9 GPA on probation for bad behavior. Then I went to Pierce College and failed a bunch of classes. The very first class I failed was Comm 101, public speaking, which is what you're taking right now. And after being told I was no longer welcome at Pierce, I went to College of the Canyons, where I failed some more classes. Then when I was told I was no longer welcome there, I came to Valley College, where I continued to fail. A broadcasting class, a theater class, I think a real estate class, a business class, and another speech class. So at that time, I decided I was going to be a car salesman. I went to work at Glendale Jeep Eagle, selling cars. Greatest education I've ever had with regards to dealing with people. If you want people to spend their money, you must communicate properly. However, at that time, I did not have the self-discipline or desire to work 60 to 80 hours a week for commission only, so I quit. I think I was about 22, and I was still living with my parents. So I was sitting on the couch watching TV one day. My father, 6'5" police LAPD sergeant, came home on his lunch break, as he would always do, drive the police car up, park, and my mom would have lunch waiting for him when he walked in the door. He walked in the door and saw me sitting on the couch, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching TV, Dad." He got a little angry and said, "I can see that. Why aren't you at work?" I said, "Oh, I quit the car lot." He said, "Let me get this straight. You do not have a job, and you're not going to college." And I said, "Oh, I'll figure something out." My dad said quickly, he said, "You need to figure something out. Your mother and I were talking the other day, and if you don't do something with your life, you need to get out of our house." Wow, Dad means business. He'd never spoken to me that way before. So I'm sitting there on the couch evaluating my life, thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And I started thinking about my situation, the way I grew up. We weren't wealthy, but my parents worked hard. My mom would wait tables at night, and my dad was a cop, and we had a nice house. They drove decent cars. We vacationed twice a year. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'll just become a cop, like my dad. I told my dad, and he was so proud. It was a hot August, I think it was like a Thursday, hot August night, and the LAPD testing went from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. My dad was so proud. Took me over to the station. We got there an hour early so he could strut me around the police department. You know, he was so proud, the idea of his son putting on the badge. Unfortunately, 4 hours later, we were walking out. To my dad's credit, his chin was still high, but my chin was hanging low. I had failed the written exam for the LAPD. A monkey can pass that test. And I can say that because at this point in time in my life, I was well below a monkey. I was so humiliated. Add to this, one of my dad's closest friends was the one administering the test. Anyways, severely humbled, thinking the party is over. In high school, I was blessed, fortunate to be one of the cool guys. You know what that means in the real world? It means absolutely nothing. Now at 22, I'm blessed with good friends, and they are adulting, getting married, graduating, starting businesses, doing life like an adult, and I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, failing the written exam for the LAPD. Around this time, I also received a letter from Valley College. It said if I came back and at least got C's, I could come back as a probationary level student. So I thought, you know what, I've got nothing else to do, nothing else going on. Maybe I better try college a fourth time. So summer 1990, I re-enrolled for a fourth time at community college, Valley College. And like all flaky students, numero uno right here, I missed my registration date, so I had to crash classes. I had to add a class. And I noticed on the list of classes that still had openings was public speaking. And I had recently spoke to a counselor who said if I wanted to ever transfer, I had to make up all my Fs. So I figured, that was my first F, I'll start there. So I signed up for public speaking with Betty Ballou. Day one of class, she says to the class, anyone who wants to can come up to the front of the room and say anything they want. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the back, watching the clock, waiting for class to be over. This guy gets up to the front of the room, and he starts talking about how horrible America is, down with the man, woof, 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 all the stuff that we all hear constantly in college. And I'm not really political, but I happen to think America is a pretty great place, and I make no apologies for that. So I'm sitting in the back of the room, and Professor Ballou says, would anybody like to comment on what he just said? I raised my hand and said, I would. I walked up to the front of the room and I said, here's what I think. Meanwhile, the whole class is like, oh, no, he didn't. And Professor Ballou's looking at me like I'm in trouble, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm such a loser. I'm in trouble, my fourth try at community college, what am I going to do? After class, Professor Ballou asked both me and the other guy to join the public speaking team. The other guy said no. And I don't know why, other than the grace of God interceding with my life constantly, I agreed. I said yes. At the time, I hated everything related to school. Kind of still do. But I agreed to give this speech team a try. It started with having to watch a speech competition at Cal State Los Angeles on a Saturday morning, and we had to be there at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. At this point in my life, I didn't get up before noon on Saturday, or truthfully, any day of the week, but I managed to crawl out of bed and get to Cal State LA at 8 a.m., and I was immediately blown away by what I saw. The parking lot of the campus was full of college students that looked physically intimidating, impressive. They were all dressed like they were ready to rock the world. Every guy was in a three-piece suit. Some of the women were in three-piece suits. The ones that weren't were in very professional dress outfits. I'd never seen a group of young people look that way. I hadn't even seen them perform, and I was already blown away. Then I saw them speak. I didn't know it, but speech competition isn't just about public speaking. It's about every form of performance being celebrated in a communicative environment. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Musical theater, stand-up comedy, slam poetry, debate, public speaking. It was really, really cool. So I went back to Professor Ballou and said, I'll join your speech team. For the next 2 years, I was blessed to travel all over this country competing for Valley College. As a result, I earned some state and national titles, and that would end up in a full scholarship to Northern Arizona University, where I got to compete on their speech team. I went from being a complete academic loser to being paid to do something academic because of speech. On the Northern Arizona University team, I got to travel all over the world. In 1995, I got to go to Munich, Germany, first class, with spending money to compete at the International World Championship Public Speaking Competition. As a result of my time at Northern Arizona University, I earned some more state, national, and even international awards. Upon graduation, I had no plans. I was in my dorm room packing up, getting ready to come home, figured I would bartend, sell something, or maybe become a movie star. That didn't work out. Anyways, I received a phone call from a man named Dr. Kevin Baskey. He was a full-time professor at USC and head of the speech team at Cal State LA. All I knew about this man was that he had judged me a whole bunch when I was a competitive speaker for 4 years, and every time this man judged me, he gave me first place. You like the judges that like you. So after I got a message that he had called, I called him right back, and he said, "Dwayne, what are you going to do now that you have graduated?" I said, "I have no idea." He said, "Come to Cal State LA, coach our speech team, teach public speaking, we'll pay you and you can get your master's." I thought, cool, more money for more speech. Jumped at the opportunity. It was the longest, most difficult 2.5 years of my life. I'm not naturally a student. And there's a reason a master's degree is called a master's degree. You are expected to master what you are studying. You are expected to get A's. You get a B, they look at you funny. You get a C, that is considered an F. 1 C, you're on academic probation. 2 C's, you're out of the program. And that could not have applied more strongly to me since I was being paid to teach. So I also had to get good grades. And again, by the grace of God, I got through the program, got that piece of paper that says I'm a college professor. So for the next 2 years, I was what's called a freeway flyer. That is a part-time instructor that teaches wherever they can get a job. The money is not great. There's no benefits. There's no retirement. It's challenging. I was driving up to 500 miles a week between LA Valley College, Cal State Los Angeles. I got to do a little coaching at USC with my good friend Josh Miller. And twice a week I had to drive to the end of the universe, Antelope Valley College in Lancaster. It was very depressing. After 2 years of that, my paycheck, pretty much all of it going in the gas tank, I was getting ready to throw in the towel when I received a phone call, 10 o'clock at night at my parents' house. I wasn't living with my parents. I was in the kitchen. The phone rang, again at my parents', it's my parents' house, so I picked up the phone. This voice says to me, now keep in mind, this is the Sunday night before fall classes are to begin, Monday morning, fall 2000. I answer the phone, and a voice says, "Is Dwayne Smith there?" I said, "This is Dwayne Smith." The voice said, "This is Dr. Adrian Zoller from Valley College. Betty Ballou, my first speech teacher, gave me your phone number. We've lost our speech coach. We need someone to come tomorrow morning, Monday, day 1 of school, as a part-timer and run the full-time program and be paid part-time. At the end of the year, there will be a full-time position. You will be eligible to apply for it. But right now, we just need a part-timer to come and run this program. Would you like to do it?" I jumped at the opportunity. That year, I was blessed. The team had a fairly successful year. The next year, I was very fortunate to be awarded a tenure track position full-time. 3 years later, I would be awarded full-time. Jump ahead to 2008, and I'm very proud to say the Valley College speech team, the same speech team that changed my life, would become the national champion team, the overall #1 program in the nation, 2008, winning a team gold medal. Valley College would go on to do that under my leadership as director a total of 4 times before I would retire from speech to teach full-time and do other things. But it is speech that has so empowered my life. And it all started here at Valley College. And as a result of my time on this campus and the success of the team, I've also been blessed in the real world to become an executive coach. And that started between undergrad and graduate school when I was blessed to teach the commanding staff of the LAPD how to give presentations. And that, that workbook that I put together back in the summer of 1995 would become the foundation for the workbook I use in all of my classes and all of my training, whether it's off campus or on campus, and it's called Empowering Speech. And the reason I call it Empowering Speech is because my life has been empowered by speech. And before that, my life was blessed because of Valley College. With that, I want to encourage you to embrace everything we do in this class. At the very least, if you embrace the workbook and the training in here, you'll do well in class. And if you take it for what it is, training for your number one skill set in life, you could be very well empowered outside of class and into life because of the gift of public speaking and the opportunity you have here at Valley College. With that, I look forward to getting to know you all and praying to help you empower yourself.